Hello and welcome back to another Minecraft Bedrock Edition Quirks video where we talk about bugs, farms, tutorials, and even game testing things, plus others. And in today's video, well, as you guys can see, what we're going to be talking about is farms. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but in a couple of episodes ago, we built this, well, not exactly built it, but we tested out the different kind of radiuses of mob spawns and kind of seeing how mobs are spawning basically in the beta 1.16. And yeah, it's kind of created this giant globe of sorts. Now, this thing is fairly massive and it's got a lot of information that we are going to be utilizing in what we're going to be talking about today, which of course is going to be about mob farms. And why are we going to be talking about mob farms? And that's because, well, the game mechanics have changed quite tremendously. So I wanted to build something that we were going to be able to use in the 1.16 and possibly even in my Let's Play series. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about the NinjaCraft Let's Play series that I've been having tons of fun on and have been doing some of the 1.16 farms and kind of getting things set up and established so that way we can find bugs. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Like I said, we're here to talk about farms. Now, I have gathered a bunch of information from this giant mob globe spawning thing so that way I can try and build a mob farm that's going to be very resourceful for my Let's Play series. And yeah, there's been lots of iterations of me building a mob farm. Now, the very first one, as you guys can see, is right over here, and I've built this giant square, in a sense, in the sky that would essentially fit inside of the giant globe right here behind me. Now, that's not too bad. It's been a pretty good farm. I've done pretty well, and you know, kind of sitting here AFK and testing it out, it comes out to be about 3,000 drops per hour, and that's pretty good actually, considering. I mean, it's not too bad. It's Bedrock, you know. It's not Java, so I mean, we're getting as much as we can, I guess, out of a square inside of a circle. But that got me started thinking, why are all the mob farms that we build in Minecraft a square? Does it have to be a square? Can we do a different shape? And if we were to do a shape, why not make a circle? So I tell you guys what, I have made a monstrosity of a farm. Yes, and it's not necessarily easy to build, but it's not too complicated, as we are going to be walking through different steps and how to make this happen. Now, you guys might be wondering, TNC, why is there a giant, like, Christmas tree, I guess, thing right behind you? Well, I'll tell you guys what, it is not a Christmas tree, first of all. This is actually a block by block basis for what I have planned for the giant monstrosity mob farm ahead. Because if you guys have ever built a circle, it's very simple. They have a very specific pattern that when you go around, you know, it kind of places blocks in a pattern. Like, for an example, on the very bottom and first layer, the pattern is 4, 2, 2, 1, 1, and I think there's actually an extra 1. And the reason why that numbers kind of correlate with the pattern is we got 4 blocks from the center right here, then 2 more, then 2 more, and then 1. 1. Okay, so maybe there's not an extra 1. Maybe that's on one of the other ones. But yeah, so there's 2 1s. Actually, there's only needs to be 1. But yeah, if you guys notice, it's the same pattern as we go around again. So if we go on the opposite side, we've got 4, we've got 2, and we've got 1 and 1. If we come over to this side, it's the same thing. 4, then 2, then 1, then 1. I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but that's basically how these circles and or domes work. Because if you're building a dome, you're basically putting a bunch of circles on top of each other until you get to the very top. And if you have an odd number, yes, you want to have odd numbers in Minecraft, because an odd number in Minecraft is actually even. At the very top of your dome build, you'll end up with a single block, just like that on the top. However, we're not going to be doing necessarily that because we wanted to build a farm with as many spawning spots as possible. And I think I was able to get that done. Now in this mob farm, we're using the mechanic where when the mobs spawn on a block like I am on right here, what they'll do is they'll walk and they'll keep walking in this direction because they think these buttons are full blocks and that they can stand on them. But clearly you cannot. And the way that I've built the squares is I've built them big enough so that way when spiders walk in, they will walk and fall and die. Now, they do get caught up every once in a while, but if we only did this in a 2x2 square, they would never fall down and fall out of the mob farm. So this is why we went with this type of design. Now, we also went with a 2 high area, not with a 3 where you could possibly get endermen. And the reason being for that is because, well, you can get ender pearls from a cleric villager really easily, and it's kind of well, pointless, and this actually gives us more spawning spaces because we only did a 2 block gap instead of a 3. Now, to kind of show you how I've built this and where this kind of circular like design has actually come from, it's actually come from my giant globe mob farm, which we're going to be building here in a second. And each one of these blocks is represented by 1 mob square. I mean, I don't think there's really a name for it, so that's what I'm just going to call it, a mob square. Now, I do hope you guys are following along, and there is going to be a lot of information, and if you guys get lost or something upon that nature, just know that right over here I have a bunch of notes basically on the side of these pillars, and what I'll do is I'll put all of these notes in the description down below so that way you guys can kind of read and see how everything was set up, and I'll have every layer marked with inner and outer circles so that way you guys know how to set this up. But like I said, you guys will start to really see what it is that I'm talking about over here as soon as we start building over there. So let's go ahead and check out over here. Which the first thing I would like to notate about this area is, well, it is a very large open area. And yes, we are above ground. I have tested this mob farm in the ocean and on land. And well, the rates are pretty much the same. But we have a very large area, and I kind of just eyeballed this sensor using my chunk visualizer. And now we can see all the pretty colors again. All right, so let's go ahead and fly right back up, and you guys can see where right here it's kind of center, where you see we got 1, 2, 3, 4 chunks away from the center, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 chunks again away from the center in all directions, and that's kind of why I've picked that particular spot right there. Now, this is actually the center of that particular chunk. If you guys notice, it's kind of, you know, mapped out and lined out for you. So right here from the center, and we're going to call this the center point because, I mean, the center of a chunk is actually, you know, 4 blocks, and you'd have to stand like right here, which, I mean, it's kind of impossible to like get that coordinate per se and build everything from that 0, 0 like center in a chunk. So we're just going to go ahead and mark this one as our center, and then this is going to be our center point of what we're going to be building. Now, if you guys remember from the mob globe over here, we kind of have gotten some information about where mobs spawn. So basically, mobs spawn 55 blocks away from the player. So we want to make sure that we are 55 blocks off the ground. So what I like to do is I like to make sure that we have a little bit of a cushion. So we're going to go ahead and TP, which is teleport, and I'm going to teleport 60 blocks above myself, so that way we know where our AFK spot is going to be, which is right here, 60 blocks above ground. That was easy. It's commands are nice sometimes. So now we are at Y131, which is 60 blocks from the ground, actually 60 blocks from 1 block above the ground, but either way, close enough. It works, and we won't have to worry about mobs spawning below us. So now that we've got our center point and we kind of know exactly where our AFK spot is, let's go ahead and actually start building up our platform, or at least our first layer. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of set this up so that way we know exactly where our center block is going to be and where our AFK spot is going to be. And so that I can identify the spawning mob square, the first one, or our AFK mob square, I'm going to go ahead and identify this with iron. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and start building with cobblestone. Now, we want to basically go from here out in every single direction, approximately 55 blocks. And we want to do it from these 2 ends. And we're going to go out on each side of this mob square, or at least our center mob square. If I can place these blocks down. Now remember, when we're counting, we're actually going to be counting from the center. And basically, we're going from the center right here where I'm standing, 55 blocks out behind me. And with the power of commands, I can do this a lot easier than having to just count them all out. But I do encourage you guys, please just count it out. It's not that difficult, especially when you're in your survival, because you can put 55 items in your inventory, and well, honestly, you wouldn't have to count at that point. So once you get all the way down to 55, we're going to go ahead and actually cap this off with 1, 2, 3 blocks right here, and then we're going to put another one right here because we want the inside to be a 3x3. Then we're going to go ahead and grab this, and we're going to pull this all the way back towards the other side. And then, of course, we're going to go ahead and repeat this process all the way around, so this way we can actually get every single spawn, or get the first, should I say, layer set up for our mob farm. And now that we've gotten a giant plus mark all kind of made out, we can start working on our mob squares, which is where our giant tree looking thing over here is going to come in handy. So if we look right here in the center, this is our center mob square right over there that we've marked with iron. So from our center mob square, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then on the 6th one, that is going to be our first spawning square for our first spawning mob square. You guys get what I'm talking about, right? Hopefully you're following along. I know I'm terrible at explaining things, but hopefully with the instructions that I put in the description might be better if you don't understand what I'm talking about. So from our spawning square, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, and then right here is going to be the start of another mob square. So now we have another mob square right here. So that's the first one, and we said 6 from the middle. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 6 right here. This is going to be the 6th one, I do believe. Let me make sure. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, so this is our 6th spawn square. So this is actually going to be where the mobs spawn, and this is where we're going to want to put buttons on the inside. The rest of these, though, we can get rid of because these squares are not going to spawn any mobs at all, and why waste the resources on that? So just like we were doing just now, we're going to go ahead and continue with this pattern and keep putting more blocks across the center with a 3 block gap on the inside. So like a 3x3 on the inside. So let me go ahead and get that done, and we're going to do it on all the other ones also. Now you guys should have something similar to this. And like I said, on the inside, we don't really need these. However, we probably will need to leave the cobblestone here so you guys have a walking path. Since I can fly, well, I don't really need it, but I'm leaving it there for video's sake. But as you guys might have noticed when you guys got to the last one, you kind of have some extra cobblestone here, and you're like, why is this here? Well, this is actually where we want to break this down, and that is actually going to be where our buttons are going to sit on the far end. And just like I was explaining the mob square right over there, we need the buttons over here so this way the mobs can actually fall off this giant platform and then die, and then we collect their drops using hopper minecarts. Now, if you want, as you are going on the build, you can place your buttons down. This way you don't have to worry about going back and doing it later. It's all in your personal preference if you want to do it as you're building it, which I would recommend doing it that way, because when I built my giant dome farm and I put the buttons in afterwards, it was a pain to put the buttons in afterwards, and I should have just done it as I was building. So, little tidbit of information from me to you. But now that we have our giant like plus sign and we kind of know where our center point is for this giant dome mob farm, let's take a look at what our pattern is supposed to be from each side to side. So it's 4, 2, 2, 1, 1, and it's actually just one, like just one single one. You guys catch my drift, right? The last number 1 isn't needed. So we take a look at our pattern. Our pattern is 4, 2, 2, and then 1. So let's go ahead and actually do that with the mob squares up here. And like I said, each block down there represents 1 mob square. So we're going to do, this is 1, and we're going to go out 4 of these mob squares. And the last button right there. All right, so now if I was in survival, I probably would have died a couple times because I fell off. But now we got the 4 right here. We need to get the 2. So then if we go from this angle right here, we can start setting up for the next 2 mob squares, which right here we're going to do right on this corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got to make sure I build these right. Now our pattern was 4, 2, 1, 1. So let's go ahead and build another set of 2 mob squares. And I kind of took it upon myself to build up the 1 on the end, even though I did say it's 2 1s, but it's not really. Anyways, you guys kind of get what I mean. So if we look right here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 mob squares, then 2 mob squares, 2 more mob squares, and then that single mob square right there. And of course, if we go over from the other platform on the opposite side and we do the same pattern of the 4, then 2, then 2, and then 1 will come and meet up pretty much right on the corner of that block over there. And look at that, guys. What do you know? I've already messed it up. But that's actually a good thing because you guys can learn from my mistakes. What actually I messed up on, and I didn't actually think about it until after I realized that it was messed up, is we actually went a little bit too close. For these squares, we actually needed to bring this in right here like I initially started going. And then the inside of this square would be basically our mob square. So we got this one right here, and we go out 1, 2, 3. That's the 4th one for the wall. And then right here again, we come in around, and just like that, now we have the squares that are connected through that 1 block right here. Now that I got this all fixed up in the right way, let's go ahead and work on the inner circle. And if we look at our tree over there, we know our pattern is going to be 3 and then 1. So that should be very simple. So since we have this already kind of set up, let's go ahead and work on that. And now that we've got the 3 and then the 1 and then another 3 and then a 1 on each edge, yeah, we basically have this corner of the pizza almost complete. And now all you have to do is fill in all this empty space with more mob squares and kind of duplicate that all the way around on this system. And I do know that the grind on this is definitely going to be real, but I promise you guys it's going to be worth it in the end because, hey, at 5,500 drops per hour, yeah, it's nice. However, to speed things up a little bit, I did use some commands so that way I can show you guys what this first layer is going to look like. And yeah, this thing is massive and it is a lot of work, but like I said, you are going to get mob spawns and mob drops from this thing like there's no tomorrow. So now that we've hit the 18-minute mark and I've kind of explained how our mob squares are and how this mob kind of farm is set, you know, we've kind of got a way where we were building it from the bottom up, but if you so choose to, you could always start from the top down. But this farm, I'll let you guys know right now, is 18 layers. And yeah, that's pretty much how I was able to get as many drops as I have gotten. To include a big layer that on the top that covers everything, and it goes out 10 blocks beyond what the edge of this dome is. Because if you go and you put the layer on top, right, the other blocks below this layer will actually start to get brighter and you won't get any mobs that'll spawn kind of like 10 blocks inwards, and you'll kind of lose the spawning spaces. So whenever you guys build that big mob farm or big mob platform on top, it's got to come out from here 10 spaces out or 10 blocks out, and that's what you're gonna have to build. Now, just to show you guys the final breakdown of kind of what the farm looks like, let me go ahead and grab my ocean command block, which is the other version, which is the ocean version of this farm. And you guys can really kind of see the whole thing in full. And I've even got the magma blocks placed down on the ground so you can see that this is basically a fall and then kill kind of system. Yeah, so here is the giant dome system. And like I said, this is 18 layers from bottom to top, not to include the cover or even the magma killing area. Now, for your convenience, I'm going to have a world download down in my Discord, so make sure you guys check that out. Link's going to be in the description below, so this way you guys can maybe have a better look at it and even utilize the commands to maybe see and have a visual aspect for all the different layers of this farm. However, this is a map that is in the beta in the 1.16, so you may not be able to utilize it or even look at it, but I'm going to see what I can do to try and get it to convert it to 1.14 for you guys to maybe hop in and check out before the update pops up. Not to mention that I will be putting all the notes and all the different amount of layer combos and layer patterns, so that way you guys can maybe read it down in the description to get a better understanding of how all of these are built. But like I said before, once you get to like some of the layers, it does get a little bit easier. So like layer 8, you guys can see on the center, it's basically all mob squares, and you guys shouldn't have any issues with trying to figure out an inner and outer layer. Now, as much as I would like to go over each individual layer with you guys, we just don't quite have enough video time to do that. So hopefully this is enough information for you guys to be able to build this on your own, in your own survival world, because I know that that's what I'm going to be giving a shot, is definitely trying to build this giant thing in my beta survival world. And if you guys want to check that out and watch that, make sure you go ahead and check out the video playlist in the upper right hand corner for the iCards. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. If you do like the video, make sure you leave a like. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that bell notification and make sure you subscribe. So without any further ado, I'll catch you guys all on the flip side.